Hello, my name is Brody Boyd. I'm a student at Rankin Technical College on the App and Web Development track, and I'm just making this video here to show off some of the projects I've been working on, as well as how to use the tools I have found online to help both make a good front end, help use APIs, and as also get them live on the internet. For example, this right here, this was my first project of the year that I made on my own time, and it is live. I'll put this link right here in the description of this, and anyone can go use it. It's pretty cool. It's not amazing, it's a sports betting, not necessarily the thing that'll give you the best option, but a thing that helps reference stats to the line that Vegas has set to help you decide whether or not that's the direction you want to go. Now, these front end tools right here, very nice. I don't actually have the website open on my computer, it's on my laptop, so I'll have to put the link to it in the description. Again, it's a phenomenal website. It has all this cool front end stuff, and it's all just CSS. It's base CSS for the most part, and kind of just copy and paste into the code, which I will show you after I kind of demonstrate what the site is. And I mean, I loved it. I messed around with it. I looked through all the stuff, and there's some cool stuff in there. But say, for example, quarterback passing yards, a whole list of quarterbacks pops up that are in this database. Now, say you want to do Jordan Love, and say they put his line at 200 passing yards, right? You click submit, and it's going to tell you to take the over. You get this cool little design in the background that I use CSS to make. Again, this is the basic one, just very basic JavaScript, CSS, HTML. I made this one personally, no help from a little bit of help from AI, but no help from any AI to like actually make how stuff looks. Like the other project, which you will see, looks significantly better. But this one was more kind of hand done, made more of a passion project, I guess you could say. But then, it says the over, this turns green, the background turns green. These are from this week. I need to update this and properly turn them red or green based on whether or not they hit or not. But it's 22 and 24 overall through weeks 3, 4, and 5, which is not terrible. It's a 50% record almost. But hopefully after this week it gets a little better. But then say they put his line at 2,000. They wouldn't, but this is just for the example of showing it. It would give you the under. You get some red arrows in the back here. This turns red, tells you under. And I don't know what's it. Okay, so 251. So 251. Say they put his line right there. It goes yellow, says do not bet. And then to get this, you take their average, and then there's a margin of error, which I found using this formula to get the margin of error, and then you add it to a confidence enter. Like, again, I didn't find this out. ChatGPT gave me this. This is not something I'm not a great math student, but I had to learn how to find the margin of error and a couple other math problems for this. But I have this all listed out right here, so if you want to like get into the actual technical side of it, you can kind of piece it together, and it's not the most complicated thing, but it's also not simple. But that's kind of how I used to get this, right? Now this is live on the internet. I use that to get it live through this website called Render. Mr. G gave this one to me. He's never messed with it, but he put me onto it, and I decided to look at it, and I ended up finding it out. It took me a long time to get this working, by the way. I gotta mention that. As you can see, failed. And yeah, there's some live ones in here, but failed. This was not a once in, just not a plug and play. I had to play around, figure out what I was doing wrong. And I originally had tried to do this with a backend as well, which I'm not using for this. I just had it on there, and I come to find out that's not what I needed, so I just scrapped that. And this is strictly the front end. I'm not 100% sure how to do it with the backend yet. But once I go to deploy my next project, I can update this and show that. But to get this posted up on Render, which I'll also link Render's homepage in the description of this if you want to look at it, it asks you for the name, then a public GitHub, oh my lord, a public GitHub repository. And I just linked that to this, and then I didn't change the branch, there's my email. And then this right here, okay, the build command and the publish directory, these I had to get through ChatGPT. It took me that's what my main issue was. That was taking me forever to figure this out. I ended up thinking it was something else. I didn't know what I was doing right or wrong, but ChatGPT knew what to do right. Now, it gave me a option to do for a full service, not just a static page, but this is just for the static page. So I looked it up. I said, what do I need to do for my build command and public directory or publish directory on render.com? It gave me this for the build command and then that for the publish directory, and it worked right after I did that. So I was not complaining. That was the simple fix was just asking AI, when in doubt, use your resources, right? But to kind of show how you use this You would go new, and then you have static site, web service. I haven't even looked into any of these other ones aside from static site and web service. To my understanding, a web service is more of a kind of front end and back end, and the static site would be more of just a front end. Again, I didn't do much looking into the web service because I just could not get it to work when I was trying it, but I'm sure it'll work, and I will be trying it again very soon once I get my next project to the point where I'm ready to publish it. But for the static site, for example, I'll just show it for here. Not all the way through, but you would pretty much just go paste your, I think I actually have a repository. Okay, no, I don't. You would just paste the repository in here, give it a name, and then this is, again, the build command and publish directory. These I use AI to find. It might be the same as mine, but I would say still ask, maybe reference your code, like to use it in the VS Code AI to, give you a better, more tailored to your code type of command. And then you just click deploy. It's really simple. It just took so long to figure out. And then, where's it at? There it is. So, and then, yeah, it's just a nice dashboard. It tells you your services. It's kind of like G-Cloud, but like not as nice and not Google. So it works, and it works fine, actually. I've never had any problems running this slow. And, just to show you, once you commit something to that repository, you just click deploy the latest commit. The most recent deployment is my latest commit. I have not committed anything since then. I need to, though. I need to work on some stuff for this quick. But you click deploy, and then it kind of just checks it, clones it, transfers it, builds it, and then deploys it. Oh, no, it does that too. Then, yeah, updating the build, running the build command. I guess it looked for new. Yeah, and then your site's live. And then just like that, it's going to be the same thing as this one, but it's live. It's all working. I mean, I'll just like put a number in here just to show you it's working. So then I'll give a quick overview of the code. I'm gonna go a little more in depth to this because I'm assuming the people watch this actually understand coding a little bit, so I can kind of like not have to dumb it down like how it was when I was talking to my parents about it, because they don't know anything about this. But it's a very, I want to say, pretty simple code. I just use APIs to get what I got. But I have my quarterbacks here for this. This is an updatable array. I mean, you can keep adding to it. I've been adding to it as the season goes. Like, none of these guys from here down were in it at the beginning of the season, but I've added them all. And then you just have to get their ESPN ID, which comes straight from the ESPN website. And then that gets plugged in somewhere else. And I'll show you that in a second. Here are the receivers. Same thing. That's just ESPN ID, their name, and then the running backs. ESPN ID and their name. It's not too complicated with those. But then using React is what I built this through. So you got to use the function. This is the whole React thing. We got the use state to get our variables here, to get the set and the actual variable. Again, I'm not great with terms, but I mean, I think you can see the code, and I'll show you where it gets used. Then this is for the stat options. So that is, let me get to it. That is this right here. So these options. So as you can see, they get changed per position. I also should say wide receiver and tight end are the exact same. I just have them separate over there just because. But those get changed per position, as you saw. And that's where this comes into play right here. You have the quarterback stat stuff, the wide receiver ones, the running back, the tight end. And, that gets put into the code, the HTML that you can see. Then the handle submit, this is when you click the submit button, surprise, surprise. And, if there's nothing selected, it'll say, please select a position set or player name. And then that's just basic data validation. If there's nothing there, don't run it, pretty much. But then if quarterback is selected, or running back is selected, or wide receiver is selected, or tight end selected, then, oops, my bad, I'm not great at this. Then you have to let the player array, and then let the stat label array. And then it searches for if it's a quarterback, or if it's a running back, or if it's a wide receiver, or tight end. Then it takes the player array and then adds the quarterbacks to it if it's quarterback, and then stats adds quarterback stats. If it's running back, it does running backs. Receivers, it does receivers. It's pretty just kind of if this, or if this. It's not a crazy thing. But then the player, it uses the name you added into your search query, your input, your player input right here, your name, and then it makes it till it finds the name in the player array, and then it just matches the player. If the player's not found, it says player's not found, or no. Set output. If selected position, to uppercase is not found. It's been a while since I wrote this. I think this means if the position is not found with that player. Yeah, okay, so yeah, it's if you put like a quarterback in as a running back, it's gonna say quarterback or running back not found. Pretty much is what that means. Then for the this is the where the actual code starts. Put in a try and catch, always a great thing to do because then it doesn't just break your code. The margin, right? The margin of error, I showed you that it's 0. It starts with always a 0 because you have to have it kind of have a base. Now this right here, this code that's commented out, was initially my code to help you find the distance from the start date to the NFL. I found a workaround to that, but I kept this in here just in case I ever wanted to go back. But that's kind of what that is. It's just math. I use ChatGPT to find me this. I'm going to be 100% honest. I just said I need to find how many weeks it's been since this day. Not a crazy thing, except I just didn't feel like trying to like look up all the stuff to find it, But then the player response, this is where you search up into the API. You take I'm not going to go over, it's an ESPN API, as you can see, ESPN.com, APIs, version 3, sports, football, NFL, athletes. And then it takes the player, and this is where the ESPN ID comes into play. It takes your selected player, uses their ID, and then places it into this part of the URL, which is, I'm not going to show it, but it's a JSON page that's, I don't know, a few hundred lines long, if not more. It's a really long and annoying page to go through, and I've had to go through 15 of them because I need to find the exact kind of, like, there's some stuff in here that was hard to find. But then it looks up the splits, which there's multiple endpoints to this one. There's like splits, game logs. I think 2 others in this, which I'll show. But splits is, I'm pretty sure just their total stats for the season. Yeah, the season is 2025. Now, to kind of go and find the exact stat, I had to go by if it's quarterback, and then, so that's like the main if, and then within that block, I have the if and else if for each type of stat. And this is where the API really got annoying to work with. More so just tedious because I had to go through and find, where's this stat? Where's this stat? And luckily they all kind of came into the same split categories and splits. And then I just had to figure out which was which, and it kind of rhymed. But then I had to go through, look at them, and just make sure they all lined up. I've had a lot of issues with this because I put the wrong number, or something's changed. I used a different one. At the end of the day, it's working now, which is great. And I had originally put margins on there just with my own numbers. But then I found this math thing because I was like, this is not going to work because you need it to be something specific to the player instead of just a blanket number over everyone. So I had these original margins. They don't serve any purpose now, but I kind of keep them there just because it like kind of separates the code a little bit, makes it a little easier to read. And then same thing here with the running backs and their positions, which the thing I don't want to change that. The thing I've come to find is really annoying working with this is that receivers, running backs, and quarterbacks all have different stats. So, or I guess obviously they're going to have different stats, but on the API, they're all organized differently. So I'd have to go through a quarterback, make sure they all work. A running back, make sure they all work. They go through a wide receiver, a tight end, make sure they all line up. And then sometimes stuff would overlap, or I'd be looking at the wrong person and not realize because it doesn't really make it easy to read. And then I'd mess it up. But I digress. And then for this is the rush and receiving yards and rush and receiving touchdowns. This is for both the wide receivers and the running backs. This was a really weird thing to work with because I'm just getting 2 numbers and adding them together, and that's where I was struggling a lot. It wouldn't let me add them together unless they were ints, which I mean makes sense because you can't add strings together, But then I had to parse them, and then that created a whole nother problem, which I'll show in a second. Then this up here too is also important. Is the pass yards can be quarterbacks are over 1,000 already. Most of them are, which having a comma in that is going to screw it up because it can be the strings are able to be read as an int with how I've written this, but if it's a comma in there, then it really screws it up. So then that's where I had to put this little thing in right here. Let good stat, just set the variable here, not equal to anything, and then if is not a number, then it pretty much just gets rid of the comma, and turns it into a number. And then if it is a number, then it just equals, it just to for these rush and receiving, this is already an int, it just puts it into that variable, nothing crazy. Just a simple way to get rid of the comma and, make it work. And then down here, we have our total stats, which this took me, I want to say 4 hours to figure out, if not more. This had to have been the most annoying thing I've ever worked with on this because when a player would not have played in one game, so say he played week 1, week 3, 4, 5, and not week 2, you couldn't search them. It would return an error because the stat just simply didn't exist. Like they never entered it as 0 or a like null. They just did not enter it into the JSON. So it would just break the code once you hit that next number. So I had to figure out a way to find the games played, which I had to go through, I think, 6 different endpoints, search from top to bottom by hand, looking for either games played or games started or something of that sort, so that I could make this to make, because like half the players wouldn't work, and that's a terrible website if it's not even working and it's not working. So I had to go through, and this is another endpoint. As you can see, this has stats instead of splits. And this one down here is game log, but I'll get to that. But yeah, stats. So again, put the ESPN ID in there, season 2025. Then all ESPN APIs are free. I had to find, I think I found 2 different GitHub repositories, I want to say is what it is, just of a bunch of different endpoints. Search through both of those. I don't have those on this computer. I could show them, but it's nothing crazy. I just looked up ESPN API endpoints, and they were like 2 of the top results. But this, I kind of had AI help me with it quite a bit because yeah, I was getting tired of looking through JSON, and I kind of just wanted to be done with it. So I had this, you search by, turn it to JSON, search by the categories, and then you have to find the category name of passing, which is universal through everyone. It'll just be 0 for people that don't pass, but they all have games played. And that's what another thing I was saying is that for the splits, everyone is different per position, but for this one, they're the same per position. So it makes no sense, and it really was making me mad while making this. And that's another thing. If you use APIs, some of them are going to work nicely, some of them won't. And I use APIs on my other projects, which I will get to, and you'll see that. And those ones played really nicely. I love those ones. Way nicer. These ones, not so much. But then it kind of searches for games played, GP, and this was just from the AI. I need to get rid of that, actually. But once it finds a stat, finds a year, games played, and it gets your weeks played. That's the moral of the story. Now, this one took me forever because I kept doing it. I kept like reading over it perfectly. I was like, what's wrong with it? I was missing this line for the longest time because you can't read a JSON file if it's not in JSON. So, that took forever, but it works now, finally. And then this gets your stats per game. This was just a little debug option kind of thing I was doing here just to make sure I was getting the number through right. But it takes your stats per game, which is your good stat, aka the total for that position, and then your weeks played. Which is if they've played 2 weeks, it's going to take that divided by 2. If they played 5, it's going to take that divided by 5. That's just how averages work. This is not a crazy line. Then total deviation. That I had to teach myself this. It was really confusing. It's math stuff. Did not like it, but I learned it. Then I have a little for loop in here. This is where you get the weekly stats to find the total deviation. This is where the math kind of gets confusing. I'm going to try my best to explain this. So now, how this one works is I equals 0, right? Which comes into play here with this right here, with this events I sub number. I forget what this is called, but in the brackets it's an I because that's for week 1 or week 2 or week 3 or so on. And this right here pulls in the weekly or the game log, so it has their weekly stats, and it's just multiple different objects under, as you see, it's under season types, categories, events. This is where the week is. So it's like week 1 or week 2, as I just said. And, you search up the API, turn it to JSON. The week stat I set it to 0 so that it's not going to like screw up and maybe put it in as like 300 or something. Then you go through and search up the week by position. It's the same thing as kind of as I had up here, except instead of the total stat, it's just the weekly stat, and it just goes through. It's a for loop. It goes through how many ever weeks they've played opposed to how many weeks the NFL season has been, and it just looks up their stat for that week. Then this is where the math came into play, and this was really weird for me to set up because I had to make sure it worked right, and this took me a long time because I came to find that getting math from paper into code is not just a take off and paste into the code. It was confusing to say the least. But then math ABS week stat minus stats per game. I don't fully understand how to get the total deviation, but all I know is that you have to do it once per week using plus equals. So instead of just total, it adds it per week. You have to find the week stat minus their total stats per game to the power of 2. is what I believe this should be. And then it adds it to total deviation, which I declared as 0 up here. But then, every time it goes through, it increments it. Or not increments, but it adds to it. And once it finishes this, it goes through all the weeks they've played. It gets put into here, which is square rooted, their total deviation divided by weeks played. Square root that to get variance. Again, it's just math. This was confusing. And then it takes the variance divided by the square root of weeks played times. This is the confidence interval. I have it. It says 1.7 on the site. It's 1.5. I was kind of messing with this, but it changes a little bit in terms of the margin of error, what it ends up being. But that's how you get the margin. Simply, again, it's math. I use ChatGPT to kind of help me learn it, and I learned it. And it's not. Again, it's team rankings. I didn't do anything with that. That's just there. I was gonna try something. I ended up giving up because it was getting on my nerves. But then you set your margin to margin. You set your output to be the player's name dash, then the stat you selected. This is rough. Why is this not going how I want it to? The stat you selected, which it just takes the array of stat labels and finds the one you selected. Per game equals stats per game. It's pretty. It's not too complicated. And then if the line number is not a number, if the line number is a number, is not a number. It's confused. This is like the most confusing line of code. But if is a number, then it does it plus the margin to tell you to take the over. It does it minus the margin to tell you to take the under. But then if it's within that margin, it tells you not to bet because I guess to its stats per game if it's greater than or equal to the line plus the margin, less than or equal to line minus the margin. But then if it's within the margin of the stat or of the average, it tells you not to push or not to bet, to push, because then it's like it's playing it close. You don't want to. It's too close to consider it a safer bet. And then just the else. So if it's something else randomly, it's gonna tell you it's just not gonna give you an answer. Then, the catch, another else here, just some simple. This is never gonna get hit. I don't actually know why I still have this in here because I've fully fixed this, but it's just gonna stay there because I don't want to mess with this code anymore and have it break. Then this is the catch, like I said. And then I'm not gonna go over this in too much depth, but this is just the HTML for it. I have this class over the top that is what the background does. So it's if the result equals over, change the background to over background, and if the result equals under, change it to under background. And then kind of zoom out a little bit. I'm going to zoom out just a tad bit. I don't know if you can still read this too well, but it's just basic. This is the first set of radio buttons. This little piece of code right here is what adds in the stats you can choose from. It pretty much just helps you find if this stat is or this position is selected, find the array, and then map them into buttons. And then this is the HTML for the buttons right here. I used this website again. I can't think of what it's called. It's like CSS something. It's pretty simple, but I'll put in the description. Phenomenal website. I used that to help me find this, and then if you don't have a position selected, it's just gonna say please select a position to see relevant stats. Then this is where what is this one? This is throwing me off. Oh, this is the okay, that's the buttons. That is these right here. These I made them from the website, right? So they have this cool little thing. They were really kind of confusing, but at the same time, I was just kind of plugging them in to be text boxes. And I had to also reformat the CSS a bit so they fit into this card opposed to just how they were actually sized. But that's the code for them right here. Don't copy mine. Go copy it from the website if you like those. And then this kind of just checks if the position selected is QB, then kind of give you the options of all the quarterbacks. If it's a running back, give you the options of the running backs. And if it's a wide receiver or tight end, give you the options of all those guys, which is just like, when you select a quarterback, it's going to show them. A wide receiver, it's going to show them. And a running back is going to show them. That's kind of what that code is for. And then this is the button, the submit button, simply put. This is the little stuff on the bottom. I mean, you saw all that. Nothing of those yet. And then this is the recommendation, which is just, if it's over, it's the class I made there to make it red or blue, red or green. And then, what was this? Oh, okay. So I was trying to work. Oh no, no. Okay, this is just kind of a thing I put on there. So this little code right here is for this right here. So instead of me, because I couldn't, there's actually no way to do it. I've looked through every endpoint. Instead of me being able to put like a thing that tells you what rank or the team is, this just kind of opens it to the overall defensive stats for those teams. So you can kind of decide whether or not, without having to open up ESPN and find that page and all that on yourself. And this is just the code for for this here. Now that is that's pretty much the walkthrough of the code for this. I probably went a little more in depth than I should, but at the same time, like, I wanted to show what I've been working on. I want to show that even someone who is as knowledgeable as anyone else is, I just use my resources, and you can kind of do anything. It's just a matter of knowing what you want to do and using your resources to help you. I mean, I've really just kind of emphasized that with my everything I've done. It's just I wanted to get it published, so I asked Mr. G, where do you think I could go about doing that? He put me on a render. Then I used ChatGPT and Google to help me figure it out. Now, for my next project, right? This one is quite a lot nicer. I don't have it posted yet though, so it is not as nice. I can't show this for it. I can't show any render, any publishing, anything for it, which I will when I get it done. But as of now, I'll just show the code and have it ran. This is gonna work. There it is. Okay, cool. So have it ran locally. This is right. So it's called Binge. I mean, if you know what Letterboxd is, I kind of just referenced that, and I unintentionally actually copied it. I didn't realize that until I went and looked at Letterboxd after I made this, but I made the page very similar setup. But you can look up anime, live action shows. It's pretty cool. Anime, say you want to look up. That is not how you spell it. Naruto, right? One of the most popular. You got that. It pops up. 15 results is what I set it to. I actually probably should add a little page tab on this to make it so you can look through multiple results. But as of right now, I don't have that. And One Piece, my favorite show personally. But you can search, and then say you want to do live action shows. Say you want to do Breaking Bad. Bang, Breaking Bad pops up. Now, I would look up other shows, but at the same time, I don't actually know exactly what's going to pop up because the API I use kind of shows like everything. But say you want to look at the One Piece show, you go to the show page. I did this here, and it pretty much just pulls the object that gets made when you search the API, which contains all this stuff. I'll show this, but it pulls it and just sends it to this page and gives you the title, the rating, type of thing. So it's going to say TV or movie, episodes, airing status, genres, and a description. It's pretty. I mean, it's very basic, but it looks nice. It's kind of cool. These don't have any functionality yet. I'm still need to work on this page, but the idea is there. Now, if you go to the home, you still got the search. You get the getting started, which this brings you to a sign in page. Actually, this should bring you to the sign up page. I'll fix that. But yeah, then I have a sign up page. Just, username, email, password, repeat password. The sign in is just your email and password. Sign in. It doesn't actually do anything yet. It's just these are just blank buttons. Because I have to figure that out. We haven't learned that in class yet, and I don't feel comfortable teaching myself that because I don't think I would be able to understand it how I'd want to. So once we get that taught in class, I'm going to have a full user ability on this. And also, this is going to be free use. Like, if anyone wants to use this when it's done, gladly, I'd love that. I think that'd be awesome. Then the Discover page, right? And as you can see, I still need to format a little bit better. I'm still working on it. But it pretty much just says top popular anime and TV shows at the top. It should be like here, but I still need to work on it. You click on anime, it's going to give you, I think it's 25 results, and then you can go to the next page. This took me forever to fix because it was just not playing nice. And then the live action is going to tell you coming soon because it doesn't exist yet. The API I'm using doesn't let me do a list of the popular shows. So I can't do it with that, and I don't want to use a different API yet. So I just haven't looked into it too deeply. Then the Discover page, you can get to that from there, getting started, like I showed. But now hop into the code for this, right? This code I'm not going to go as in depth on because it's way more complicated and just a lot more to it. But I'll kind of give a brief overview. Let me zoom in a little bit so you can see this kind of nicer. And again, this is running on localhost. I have not put it out online yet. So, yeah. But I had to use this, what's it called? React Router DOM. I had to look up a whole new NPM package because I wanted to make multiple pages, as you saw. And I didn't know how to do that. It's probably a lot, like, I probably didn't have to go through all this trouble. I probably could have just kind of figured it out. But I wanted to do something kind of nice and cool. So I have this pages, which I'll get through the pages in a second. But then you have to import the pages, discover, sign up, show page, and sign in. And the show page is like the it's not like to show a page. It's the page that has the show on it, just to kind of clarify that. And then the rating modal, that is the little thing. Let me just do this. That is like the little thing. This is the rating modal, and you can submit rating once nothing's gonna happen yet. So that's what this is, just to kind of go through that. And this is a weirder thing of code because I've never used it, so I kind of had to just kind of go with the flow, ask AI a lot of questions. But from what I understand, you have to put the functions in here. So like the search query, the set, the search. Like I said, I'm still learning this as I'm going. But then you have like the nav bar, and you have links here which give you to discover or the home page, and it brings you to, it's pretty sign in, sign up. They're pretty self-explanatory. Same thing here. This is just the hero page, and this. Okay, I should have said that first. Whoops, my bad. I used V0 to make this. I'm gonna go over that now instead of the code because that is pretty important. I said, build me the landing page for a website that is similar to Letterboxd, but instead of movies, it's used to rate shows. I want this page to include a login button, an area to see your previously ranked shows, and a way to add new shows, as well as anything you may think look good. Anything you think may look good. That is not great English. It doesn't matter. AI can kind of figure out what I meant. So it kind of built me I won't be able to show you what it built, but it built pretty much what you just saw. It built this. Not exactly. I added these. I added the discover. I added these 2 pages, but it kind of built this rough, very rough homepage. There was a footer on it. I need to add that on, but it was rough. These were all like AI generated images for the shows. It was like Breaking Bad, Friends, and The Office. It was like very creepy AI generated ones. It really kind of threw me off. When you would search, it would just pop up 3 options with what you typed in, and then like season 1, something else, and something else after it. It was really kind of okay, but what I've come to learn is that if you're using that to help you build your page, you have to change it. You can't expect that to build you exactly what you want. And that's what I had to do. But I had to kind of do this first thing, and it put it in languages I was not familiar with. I'm pretty sure TypeScript and Tailwind and maybe something else were in there. So I asked it, can you write it in JavaScript, CSS, and HTML only? It did that, and then it didn't give me it exactly how I wanted. So I asked it, can you use vanilla JavaScript? Because it was still putting in languages or like different stuff I wasn't not comfortable with, but stuff I wasn't familiar with. And I don't want to just use code I can't even read, kind of, or like I don't know how it works, So I asked it to rewrite it in vanilla JavaScript, and it was doing it work for a little bit there. And then I said, now create a login page, because I wanted a login page. Come to find out, it's just easier to do that myself, because then I can get it how I want. But either way, and then I had to ask it which would go in source, then app.jsx, because I was building this in React. And then it redid all the code again. Then I had to say restructure it to where it follows the React setup, because and then I did its whole thing. It was like I don't mind using this tool. I think it's a great tool. It got a phenomenal looking website, but it was not working nicely with how I wanted it to. And you only get 10 credits a month to type in, and I used all 10 getting this set up. And then, it still had Tailwind and TypeScript in there, I'm going to assume, from what I said. So I asked, can you remove them? And it removed them. And then I said implement the sign up page, and it said you've used all your stuff. So that's kind of where I ran out of ideas on this, and I kind of gave up for a bit there and put all my time into this project. But then I came back to this last week, redid it. I added these buttons. I made the search functional. I added the discover. I added these buttons. I added these pages, so stuff like that. You can't expect it to be perfect. In fact, it's not going to be perfect. It's AI. It's going to give you kind of help. It's just a tool. It's not going to be the be all end all, But pretty much to go through the code a little bit now. I have it so you search. It takes the set show type to anime or live action depending on which button you click. Use that same website to make these buttons look nice. Again, I'll link that in the description. I should have had it open. I forgot what it's called. It's a great website. It's for CSS. I loved it. And I didn't even show you the CSS for the other my page. I think it's like 400 lines of CSS. I would say 70% of it I wrote. 30%, or let's go 60% I wrote. 30% is from that one website, and then 10% AI wrote of the CSS on my other project. I'll show you the CSS on this one. I'll make sure I do that. But then, it sets the show type to anime or live action, and that's important when it comes to searching for the, searching. And then this takes your text input for the search, sets your search query to the value of the input. And then if you click enter, it handles search. But if you click search, it handles search. So it's kind of nice that either one works. And then this is the search results. Just maps them out. And then they all are their own items. So if you click them, it opens up the rating modal that I showed you. The little thing with the stars, the option for a review, and then submit, show page, or cancel. Now here's where the kind of code comes in that's not HTML. And this is just for the rating modal here. This was kind of stuff that the V0 gave me, except the header was its own thing. So this was its own component. Oops. This was its own component right here, all in this components folder. Then this was its own component, and this was its own component. And it was just, I don't like how that works, because I like to be able to see all of my stuff in one section. You might not. You might like it to all be in the components folder, which if you do, go for it. Do that. But I prefer this because I just like to kind of be able to see, oh, this is on top of this. If I want to change this or move it around, it's all right there. So I kind of just took from my V0's code and moved it around or put it where I wanted it to go. And like the nav bar, I had that on every page, so I kind of recopied that code. It's I don't know. I liked V0, and I wouldn't have been able to do this without it, if I'm being 100% honest. But it's I don't know. I feel like coding is such a personal thing that you can't have it do the work for you. So I kind of had to, especially when it comes to styling. But I'll continue with this. And then again, the states this stuff again. This is for the rating modal. If it's open it. You set the current show to show, which this right here is super important. Oops, this is super important. The set current show, and then set is modal open to true, and then if you click close, it sets it to false, and then it also puts your current show to null. Again, like I said, very important. I'll get to why. Handle the submit. This goes in the rating modal, I'm pretty sure. And once you rate it, it takes your show. User rated. This I don't think this is actually going to be 100% right, because I don't have anywhere for this to go right now, so I'm probably going to end up changing this. But it takes your updated shows and rated. It takes your rate. This is your set user rated shows. It just pretty much puts them into your rated shows. I'm going to rewrite this because again, this is not. I'm going to have it go into a database. I'm not at that point yet, but still, this gets your rated shows and rates the show. And this is the search. This is the important stuff right here, right? This is where the show type comes into play. This was just testing something because it was not working for a bit there, but I fixed that. Set search results to nothing. Just always nice to set stuff to 0 or blank or right before it actually searches it, just so stuff doesn't linger, which has happened. So that's why I added that. Then if the show type is anime, I found this through ChatGPT. Again, great source. This Gcan, I don't know how you say it, but Gcan API. It was free. There's no API key needed. So I was like, sweet, I'll use that. And then I had it, or ChatGPT gave me the way to write it into the code. I had to change it a little bit to fit this more, but pretty much it just asked for this encode URI component. It would have been great if I remembered what URI meant before I went into this, but I didn't prepare for this. I'm not a teacher. I'm just a student, and I'm just here for the love of the game. Then search query, as you typed it into the search, so it puts it into that, makes it so it's readable by the API, and then searches it. and that's how you get your URL. I put a little try catch in here to just so it doesn't break, and it fetches the URL. We used Axios, I want to say, in class. I could definitely switch to that. This is just what I use on my other projects, so this is what I'm familiar with more so I'm just gonna use it again. But you can see response, and then turns it into JSON. You get data. Then your results equal array is array data. If it is dot data. I'm gonna be 100% honest. API AI kind of this was in the ChatGPT code. I understand it a little bit, not a crazy amount, but I think enough. It turns your data and maps it into anime. So then it takes the mal ID, the title English. If there's a title in English, because some anime is Japanese, obviously, so it's gonna, or for the most part, so it's gonna, some of them are gonna have a Japanese title. Some of them in the API though, there is a English title listed on some. So if there's an English title, it gives us that, and if not, it just returns the anime title, which is always going to be there no matter what. Then the rating score, if there's nothing there, it turns to not available. Episodes, again, if not there, it turns to not available. And this is a little string here to search for the image URL, because as you saw, it returned an image with each show. I didn't put those in there. That's included with the API. Thank God. That was my big thing going into this. But luckily, this API has them. Now it goes into this placeholder SVG. This image doesn't exist. I need to actually add something there, just like a no image found type of thing. But if images exist and JPG exists, then image URL, and if not, placeholder. URL, anime URL, status again. If not there, not available. Type, if it's not there, not available. Genres. This just kind of maps them into a or like it just puts them into like a this comma this instead of just like the words next to each other. And then the synopsis, which is just a description. That's just how they have it in the API. It's called synopsis, which that just means description. I mean, it's not crazy. Or if not, it's no description available. And then it sets your search results to results and returns results. Surprise, surprise. That's how the search works. It searches. And yeah, I mean, that's just the basic. And then for live action, I had to actually find this cores proxy.io, because this was returning errors every time I tried to use it. So it just said, I looked up on AI, I'm using my resources. I advise everyone else to. I'm going to zoom this in a little bit because I can. I'll get rid of this and I'll move this over. But like I said, I advise everyone to use AI if it's convenient to you. Don't use it to write your code, but if you're struggling with something, use AI. It knows everything. So use your resources. But I asked it, I'm like, why is this not working? I'm getting this error. What's the issue? You gave me this code, so help me fix it. And pretty much it just gave me this, we'll put this little proxy thing in and put it right before this. And surprise, surprise, it worked. So then that problem went away. And then, same thing. It just searches the URL, turns it to JSON. Search query goes into here. This is TV Maze. This is the other API that ChatGPT gave me for live action TV shows. It's like I said, it's going to kind of just do the work for you. But at the same time, this is stuff I could probably figure out. I could definitely figure out if I just went through and looked through a bunch of docs for like a couple hours. But I knew what I wanted, and I mean, I understand it, I think, a decent bit. So I had AI help me, because like I've said many, many times, just use your resources. Don't sit there and just waste your time for like hours. It just doesn't. You're gonna use it in the real world. Use it now. That's how I see it. And then the results, same thing. Except these are a little different, so they get mapped by item, and then they all have this show property, and then sub properties. I think nested properties, I guess, is the right term. It goes through and finds those genres. Same thing. It joins them with a comma, the name, the rating. I don't have anything set on these to where if they're not found, put it to NA. I actually probably should. I'll get to that. But then this is that thing. Sorry, I'm really bad at this. This is what's it called? The React router DOM, right? This is what this had me do. It had me put it into the return, right? So it returns routes, and then route to home with all this stuff. These variables with the stuff, with what they are actually. It's literally just the variable equals the variable. And then it had me do it with show, discover, sign up, and sign in. I'm going to have to do another one of these for lists and every other page I end up using, because it all goes to the app.jsx since that's the main page. But now let me show you the CSS. I'll show you the CSS quick since that's right here. As you can see, it's just a lot. It is 828 lines. I did some of it. A lot of this was just done by V0. I want to say out of the 800 lines, I've written maybe 70 of them, maybe 100 of them. Like, I wrote most of this down here. I wrote, yeah, anything from about here down, from 740 down. I know I wrote that. And then I think I wrote something in here somewhere, but most of it's from V0 because like I want it to look good, so I'm gonna use that. And the buttons I used that were from that one website are in there as well. They give you the CSS for that. I'm not the greatest CSS guy, as you saw with my first project, but I try. And then here's the discover page. These ones are more in kind of the standard React, where it returns the actual HTML, and as you can see, they're all JSX files. But I mean, the discover is really just the same as the search. It's kind of just made to where it searches blank. You know, it doesn't search for a specific show, I guess is more accurate to that. But it just close and open the rating modal, handle the submit. This is not a working thing because there's nowhere for the shows to go. Next page and back page, these were for the paging feature that I think I showed, where you go to the next page or the previous page results. And this is a little scroll to the top, kind of smooth. That's how it kind of goes up. It just looks nice, you know. And if not, still goes up to the top. And then here's where the page load. I'm trying to remember why I did this. There was some like weird issue. This took me a minute to figure out because it wouldn't work after, or would only work after you go to the next page twice, and then it would go to the next page. It was weird. But I use this here, just use effect, show type if it equals anime, get the most popular anime, which is this little function right here. It sets the limit to 25, so 25 per page, and then the start page to 0, which is the first page. As you know, in code, 0 is really just 1. You know, yeah, but per page, 25 total pages. I'm gonna be 100% honest. AI wrote this code right here. Or AI wrote this code right here, because I was like, how am I gonna find the most popular pages? You gave me the API, so help me use it. And API is not an easy API you don't make, because we've been learning to make API. If you are just using an API you found on the internet, use every resource you can to help you understand it, because the ESPN API, oh my lord, it is the most obnoxious thing to work with ever. And you can't just I was using other people's GitHub things to help me figure it out, and ChatGPT was no help with that. So if ChatGPT helps you, use it, because API is a confusing thing. But pretty much, I actually had to tweak this code a lot because it was not working right. But it pretty much just finds what page you're on. So it filters them by popularity from this GCAN one, or GCAN, I don't know. And then takes your page equals page number. And it puts it into page URLs. Like I said, this kind of threw me off, but it works. Because I'm not too familiar with how this API works, but it works. So that's what matters, right, guys? But yeah, then it kind of does that, and then your responses get mapped out. And again, if they have the title in English, it's the same thing as it's literally the search results. I just moved them onto here. This is almost identical to the search results, because it's the same thing. It's just you're not searching for a specific one. It just checks if the button's clicked or not. And I don't remember why that's there, so ignore that. And then, catch, error fetching the top anime. Always nice to have a little catch in there. But then it returns all this. It's the same thing, the same nav bar, just the discover page. Again, I made this all. This was not made by V0. I made this page. And tab groups, it's the same thing. If you click on it, it says to show to anime, it says the page to 0. If you click on this one, it says to show to live action and the page to 0. And then down here, this is the results. And it actually has the current page number, which was kind of just a nice little thing I wanted to add, which just page +1. It's because page is going to be 0 because that's how code works for some reason. And then it's just the search results. It's literally I copied the code over because it's the same thing. So if you know you're going to reuse the code, don't rewrite it, or at least copy it and kind of change it a little bit to help fix, because then you're not going to waste your time spending like 2 hours writing new code, which is almost identical to what you've written. And then this is just the page changers is what I called them. It's the back and forward buttons. Then if you click on live action, it says coming soon, and and the page buttons to move forward and back are not there because there's no page for live action. And then if you don't select either, it says select a type of show, and then the rating modal thing. So I don't think it's complicated, but I also don't think it's simple. Like if you remove the API aspect out of it, it's really simple. So that's kind of, and this is a show page. This is where that show really, 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 really comes into play. I have the rating submit here. As you can see, it's commented out because, like I've said twice already, it doesn't have a use yet. But, you know. Oh, then this is how you pull the show to this one. I had to use AI to figure this one out because, like I said, I knew what I wanted to do. I just didn't know how to do it. So instead of wasting my time looking through docs for an hour, I was like, AI, help me figure out how to pull the show to the next one. And it was literally just this is also using the React Router DOM. I should add, this is using the use location. So location, use location. If it has a state, which I think should be passed through somewhere in here. That's passed through in here in the rating modal. It sets the state to show. So if it has a state, then just find the property of show. And this was just to make sure it was working for me. And then again, the nav bar, I just copy and paste that in everyone. And then since you have the show, it just takes the image. And I will say this is a lot of div classes in here. Oops, I keep doing that. This is a lot of div classes in here because I was kind of trying to organize how I wanted. But it just takes show dot whatever. And if there's nothing there, it puts not available, because a lot of the live action shows I don't think the live action API has episodes, so it has to put not available. And I mean, yeah, that's kind of the basic to get that. And then no show data available. This really shouldn't show up in almost any case, but it might if you don't select. I don't know why that would really show up, but then I'll kind of show this quick because the modal. This is what. Let me go back here. This is the rating modal, and this was the thing I just showed. This is the show page. So like I was saying, episodes, status, genres, and this was the little search down here. But then this is the rating modal, right? It's a pretty small thing, and that's this is where it go to the show page. It closes the modal, and then it brings you to the show. And this is the star rating. That's how you get that. This is where you set. Oops, I keep doing that. This is how you set your rating. This is the modal. This is pretty. It's not much code. It's just kind of set the review to the review you wrote. Again, this is from V0, and they had some inline code. I'm not gonna mess with that because I like how it looks. I don't really want to screw it up. Then I added this button here for the go to show page. It has cancel button, it has a submit button. This doesn't work if the rating equals 0. So like if you noticed, it wouldn't. It doesn't let me submit it unless I've selected a star amount. And I mean, if you click close, it closes it. And if you click show page, it's go to show page. And if you click submit, it submits. I mean, yeah, and this just maps out the stars, so 1 through 5. And puts a value on each one. I'm pretty sure that's what this does. Again, this V0 wrote this, not me. But I'm pretty sure that this just puts 1 through 5, turns them into stars, but then puts a value of 1, 2, 5 on each stars. And that's that page. The sign in and the sign up, I just used that one. I'm not even gonna go over these, because there's nothing to them. I just used that one website to find the CSS to make them look nice, and I put in the nav bar. For both, they're like the same thing. Like I said, I'm not gonna go over those. And I think that's it for this. I don't have anything on the back end yet. I'm gonna have to because I want to add a whole users and save your stuff. You can save multiple lists, this, that. I gotta do that still, and I haven't done it yet. And I'll get to that probably next week. I'll get to that soon. It'll be done before November, I want to say. It'll be done before December. I'll give myself a little more of a timeline. But I think that's it. I have this, and that's not. I didn't put that in there. It's just React. These are both built on React. I mean, they look very different. This is the one made with AI. This is the one handmade, and you can clearly see the difference in how much nicer AI will do it. But they both work. They both are functional. This one, to an extent, it's still. I mean, it's just not done, but they both work. They're both just using React, JavaScript, HTML, CSS. Oh, nothing crazy. I didn't like pull in some other language. I didn't pull in like C# or TypeScript or Tailwind or anything to make them work in a different way. So, in theory, you guys can, or you guys, as anyone who watches this, can do this because I was able just to use my resources, ChatGPT, the AI that's built into V0 Code, Mr. G, just Google even, like looking up how to use this, looking up to find CSS for other stuff, and they're both functioning. This one's live. I mean, I'm gonna put the description. You can go look at this one. This one will be live. I'll try to remember to update the description to this video when this one does go live. So if you're watching this in like a year, and for some reason they are still live, it should be up. I'm used to having a camera in front of me, so I'm like throwing my hands up to talk with them. But yeah, I think that's it. I believe that was all Mr. G was kind of want me to go over. Like I said, the buttons, these look really cool. I didn't make those. That's that website. I wish I could tell you. I'm going to put that into the description because it's such a good website. You need to look at it. It has so much good stuff. It has this cool 3D submit button. There's like super cool like glass stuff. It has these really nice looking radio buttons. Go look at that, please. If you just want some basic CSS stuff, but it looks really nice. And yeah, I mean, that's how you can use V0 to make a front end that looks like this. How you can use API to get searching stuff like this, or to find, stats using this, or there's like, I want to say an infinite use of API just because of how many are out there. So if you want to look something up, go look it up and then find it. That's the best advice I can give. Like, I was struggling with this because mentally I was thinking, I'm like, I don't know what I want. I don't know what I want to do. I just did it. I kind of was like, as I went, I was like, I want to add a Discover page. Or I want to add a page that has just the popular shows or whatever. So I added it. It's kind of just, you got to just, I don't know, just dive in kind of. I'm not the greatest one to I'm a very big procrastinator. So I'm not necessarily the one to say like, work hard and get it done. But sometimes you just got to get locked in and just keep going down a rabbit hole until it's like too much. Like, I almost want to keep like just adding random stuff to this just to have it to be too much. But then the list and the reviews, I'm going to have them be your own reviews. And the list is going to be like, you can make lists. So you have like a watch list or like favorite shows or this or that. And I'll have those made at some point. Not yet. And I think I've already said that this is the end of it like 5 times. But I'm going to end this now. 58 minutes. Wow, that's a whole lecture. You're welcome if you watch it to the end. I hope everything I said makes sense because it really was a lot. And I'm not the greatest at explaining stuff. Like, if you're in my class and you have any questions, ask me. I'll give my best answer. Like I said, I'm not good at explaining stuff. I kind of just can say what's on the screen and kind of try to explain it. But I can give you my best explanation, or if you want to ask out something like just to see it, ask me. I don't care. I'll show you. I love showing off the stuff I've been working on. But like this one, this one's free. This one anyone can use. I'll put the link to this. You can use this if you want. If you want to look at it, you can use it. The repos are public. They should be on my GitHub account. Brody, I don't know. You can find it. I'm not going to give that information out here for free. You can find it though, if you know me. And if you watch this as like a student or someone that's like actually interested in code, I'm gonna shout myself out. I'm posting this on my actual YouTube channel, so go look at it. I make football videos. I get that much for giving you an hour-long lecture. And yeah, I mean, it's pretty cool. I love the fact that you can make kind of almost anything just from using the internet to help you make it. Like, I couldn't have coded this 2 months ago. And like, I tried making something like this a couple months ago over the summer, and it looked terrible. And look at this. Mr. G told me about an AI tool, and I used it. And look I made a great website. Anyone can do it. It's not a hard thing to do if you really put your mind to it. And I'll wrap this up now because I just hit an hour. So yeah, I mean, if you like this kind of code, try to do it yourself. I'm like naturally trying to do an outro because that's what I'd be doing. But yeah, I'm gonna end this. So yeah, thank you for watching. If you watched the end, and yeah, I guess I'll see you in class.